Right, I've got the brake pipe put in the clips on the swing arm, and I've sat the brake caliper on the swing arm as well. So now we'll get the back wheel in. Stuff in the way all over here. Right. I'll just move this brake caliper. Right, roll the wheel all the way forward until you've got enough play that you can get your belt in onto your pulley. Right, what I'm going to do is I'll just move that back a touch. I'm just going to lower the stand. Slow it down slowly and just keep checking that now it's catching, and I'll probably need to adjust the camera view, which I'll come around and do in a second. Right. Now push your wheel forward in the swing arm, and then get your belt. Now something's stopping my wheel. It's actually the belt pulley, the belt guard. So I'm a bit stuck for space here. Ugh. Right, I just need to lift my wheel up a bit. Right, so I've now fed the belt onto the pulley. Just make sure it sits in properly all the way around. Once you've got to that stage, if you grab your axle and your rear spacer, right, get your spacer in so the wider part of the spacer is facing out towards the swing arm, and then get your axle bolt. Just lift the swing arm and just start feeding it through. Stuck. Now I've coated the axle shaft with some anti-seize grease. Right, when you get to that stage, you want to be around the other side, so I'm just going to knock you off and take you around the other side. Right, on this side, if your disc didn't go in your caliper when you were putting your wheel in and that, just make sure your caliper's properly in place, sat on its weldment properly. But in where the axle shaft comes through, there's a spacer that goes between the caliper mount and your disc, well, your bearing. So just lift your caliper up out the way, feed your spacer through and drop your caliper back. And once that's in, you can actually reach round, push your axle shaft through, and then tap it all the way home. And then the next thing is you want to make sure I get that on the right way. I once did all this and put it on the wrong way around, put it on that way, and then wondered why it wouldn't work. Just put your plate on and then get your axle nut. Basically just nip it up And once you've got to that stage, you're going to be looking at setting your belt deflection. So I'll knock you off again, take you out to the side. Now on the other side you saw us put that plate on, which was like a conical shape. It's the same on this side. This plate is exactly the same. So just get your ratchet on, and as you turn that one, the nut, it turns the whole shaft, and the plate on the other side exactly the same. And they make contact with a like a welded on bit here, and the more you tighten it, the tighter your belt gets. Now you don't want it too tight, and I'm just going to take right, I'm just going to knock you off a minute. I'm going to get me bolts for my shocks, and I'll lift my swing arm up into my shocks so that my back wheel's free off the ground. Right, I've got the shock mount bolts, sorry, and lifted it all back off the ground so the back wheel's free. Now what you want to do once you've got to this stage is just rotate your back wheel, which helps, well, it doesn't help, it just makes the belt locate itself on the front pulley, as in line up. So once you've spun it round a few times, what you want to do then is check your belt deflection. And what I normally do is I twist just underneath where the swing arm pivot bolt is, shaft, sorry. I twist the belt, and if I can move it, if you imagine it, if that's the belt, if I can move it to there without any major force, sort of 45 degrees, then that does me. And in the past, when I've done all that, one of my mates has got a proper belt deflection tool, and when we've tested it on his tool, it's within spec. So that's how I always set mine up. That one's right. So now I'm at that stage, I'll leave you where you're at. I'll put the socket on there. I'll get my torque wrench, and I'll torque the rear cone nut up. In fact, I'll move you around the other side. I'll just knock you off a sec. Right, I'm going to torque this nut up, and it torques up to 105. Just move the box out of the way so I can get the pipe properly. Right, it torques up to 105 foot-pound. Now remember to be holding the other side with your breaker bar. Right, once you've torqued that up, get your spring clip, and basically that just fits in this. The spring clip fits in a groove on the end of your axle shaft. I didn't think I'd be able to push that in with my fingers. Right, and just squeeze it into its groove and just verify that it's in properly. And that's that. That's your back wheel in and torqued up. What I'll do next is I'll torque these rear shock bolts up. Now your rear shock bolts, they torque up to 40 foot-pound. So I'll just adjust my torque wrench. And same up to the side. Right, and that's your back end back together. Right, I'll knock you off again, we'll get on to the next bit. Right, I've been in and reset my primary chain. I'm just going to torque up the shoe bolt nut. This torques up to 39 Newton meters. Right, now that that's done, I'll not be going in there again for a while until I've what I'll do when the bike's running, I'll give it sort of maybe 50 to 100 mile, and then I'll come in and I'll recheck this, reset the clutch. I've also redone the clutch. I've tightened the free play up in the cable, operated it a few times just to sort of get everything bedded into place, loosened it off so that there's maximum free play, and reset all the adjuster screw. But I won't be putting that cover on yet because I need to put my primary fluid in. Right, I'm going to put the cover on, so just get a new gasket. So obviously it's not going to stay in there without its cover. So get your cover, get one of your bolts, shove it all in place. Just get all four in just to make sure the gasket's all lined up. Right, and these torque up to 12 Newton meters. So I'll just adjust my torque wrench. Right, and that's your primary chain inspection cover on. As as I say, I won't be putting the clutch inspection cover on yet because I need to put my fluids in. What I'll do next is I'll probably put my air filter backing plate back on. So I'll knock you off for now and we'll get on to the next bit. Right, air cleaner backing plate. As you know, it's got a new gasket on the back side of this. So I just offer it up. I've got one screw through already, just to sort of hold the gasket, and it's got a dab of blue Loctite on it. So just lightly put that in, and then obviously with your other two bolts, just a dab of blue Loctite. Just sort of nip them up finger tight. And then your breather bolts, well they're not breathers, they actually just hold the back plate on to the breather bolts. Again, dab of blue Loctite on each one of these. Right, and then torque your bolts up. The three in the centre, just torque them up to 10 Newton meters. And the ones that go into the breather bolts, they torque up to 16 Newton meters. So I'll just adjust my torque wrench. Right, and that's your air cleaner back plate back on. Right, and that's pretty much it. I'm just going to knock you off a sec. Right, that's pretty much it. The bike sort of back to the point where I started stripping on film. So what I'll do now, what's left to do, which is pretty straightforward, is I'll drop it down, I'll put its stand back on, drop it down, change the oil filler, the oil drain plugs, and put new ones in. Once I've got that done, I'll put the fluids in. I'll put my cover back on the other side of the primary, the clutch inspection cover, and then basically I'll just put the bike back together, get all the running boards and tanks, seat, boxes, etc. all put back on. Once it's all back together, I'll get it up and running, and then I'll come back, because as I've said to you in an earlier video, I am going to show you how to do the cable lash for your cruise, and basically just so you can see it back together and then running. And we'll go from there. Right.